Can Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens win the AFC in 2024? Can they get over the hump and take down the Chiefs? Could have, maybe should have in 2023, but they didn't get the job done. The AFC is going to be loaded once again in 2024. Their division is going to be loaded again in 2024, the AFC North. But is this the Ravens' year? That's what we're going to be talking about here today. Really appreciate y'all tuning into Rogue Football. I'm your host, Jordan Lugo. Let's go ahead and get this thing fired up. To me, it starts up front. Their offensive line did not get the job done, in my opinion, in the AFC Championship against the Chiefs. Were there other factors? Certainly. Zay Flowers' mistakes were a big deal, but I think they need to do a better job up front than they did in that football game. Can they do a better job this year? I love Roger Rosengarten. I was extremely high on him in the NFL draft coming out of Washington. I think he is a very good athlete, has adequate length, is a technically sound offensive tackle. I like him coming in there and playing some football for them on the right side. I like Voorhees. I like the talent that he has. Obviously, has not been fully healthy as of late. I like Ben Cleveland. Obviously, Tyler Linderbaum is awesome at center. You're just trying to get Ronnie Stanley healthy into the playoffs, right? I like the group on paper overall, but there's 3 new starters, 2 of which basically have no experience in the NFL. And so they need to be able to set the tone to allow King Henry, Derrick Henry, to get outside the tackles and pick up a head of steam and really get this thing rolling and hit their ceiling on offense. They're going to need that offensive line to get the job done in a big way. Is this offensive line better than the offensive line they had last year? Are these young players going to be able to come in and get the job done at a high level? These are big questions facing the Ravens. You know, they also need to protect Lamar Jackson. He's intentionally coming into this season a little bit lighter than he has over the last several years. But look, this is a player who needs a little bit more help when it comes to teams deciding to just fire up the blitz and send 6-man pressures, right? He needs to be able to have answers to the questions that defenses are posing to him, right? To me, that's partially on him being able to get the ball out quickly, partially on the scheme, giving him the answers, as I mentioned, and making sure the receivers are ready to receive the ball quickly, right? That's one of the big areas that they need to improve this year. I think with a healthy Mark Andrews, that makes a massive difference for this football team. One of the best receiving weapons in the NFL, regardless of tight end or wide receiver, slot receiver, whatever. Mark Andrews gets the job done. Zay Flowers in year 2, I know the AFC Championship game has been eating him up a bit. I think that he is poised for a huge season. Rashad Bateman, I am a big-time truther of Rashad Bateman. Hopefully you can have him fully healthy for a full season here in 2024. He just got a new contract, so I like those 3 receivers you've got there. Then you talk about Devontae Walker. I think this is a player who you can line up as the Z. He can get vertical. He can stretch the field and open things up for your offense. I know he had a down Senior Bowl week, was putting the ball on the ground, but you go back and watch this guy at North Carolina with Drake May. He was able to get down the field, go up and get contested catches, stack his DB, get behind the defense. And look, he has great speed. He has pretty good size, great vertical leaping ability, good length. I think Devontae Walker can be an element to this offense that they quite frankly haven't had. And then you also talk about Isaiah Likely. The receiving talent is here in Baltimore for them to have a big time year throwing the football. And I have little question that they will. It's about winning those games in January, trying to punch your ticket to the game in February for the Baltimore Ravens. To me, they've got to make it happen on the offensive line, right? That's going to be the kicker. I really do believe that will be the kicker for these Baltimore Ravens in 2024. And would you have liked to seen them make more investment there? I know that they have made a lot of players that weren't very heralded before they got to Baltimore look very good in Baltimore on that offensive line. I'm aware of that. And I'm not saying that Andrew Voorhees doesn't have the talent. I'm certainly not saying Roger Rosengarten doesn't have the talent or Ben Cleveland can't be an adequate starter, but 3 new starters on that offensive line. regardless of whether you believe in them or not, they are going to be key for this Baltimore Ravens offense. They're going to be key to trying to win the AFC Championship. Defensively, look, I'm not worried at all. I know that this defensive staff has been absolutely poached around the league. You've got a head coach now. You've got multiple defensive coordinators, coming from assistant ranks in this staff, but I'm not worried about it at all. I think Zach Orr can get the job done. And part of why I'm not worried about it one bit is Roquan Smith and Kyle Hamilton lift everyone around them without question. Like Roquan Smith, to me, is in a tier at the top of the linebacker position with Fred Warner. They are not the same type of player, but they are in a tier by themselves at the top of this league at linebacker, off-ball linebacker. Roquan Smith is unbelievable. One of the best players you can watch in the NFL today, bar none. Kyle Hamilton, same thing. This guy is a chess piece on the defensive side of the ball. You can move him all around. He can do so much for you in coverage, coming downhill against the run. I think that these two players are an unbelievable foundation, but they aren't the only foundational pieces that the Ravens have on the defensive side of the ball. That interior defensive line with Justin Madubuike, Price, Jones, Washington, they're loaded, right? I think when you talk about their edge group, it's not the best in the league, but they have talent. Right? Owe, Ojabo, Kyle Van Noy, Adisa Isaac you add in the draft. To me, that is enough. Maybe you could add another vet if you want to that knows how to get to the quarterback, but that's enough to play the run and to be effective as a pass rush unit. I really do believe that, especially with that interior penetration that you can get from the guys we already mentioned. I think it'll be interesting, obviously, to see, Patrick Queen no longer in Baltimore, Trenton Simpson expected to come in and start, a player I liked a lot at Clemson. But Roquan Smith, he elevated the game of Patrick Queen. If Patrick Queen had not gotten Roquan Smith next to him a couple years ago, who knows what Patrick Queen would be making right now. As a former first-round pick, he certainly would not have gotten the deal that the Steelers gave him this offseason. And I think that Patrick Queen did develop on his own as well, but there's no question that Roquan Smith aided in his development. I think he's going to do the same thing for a Trenton Simpson. In this secondary, you still have Kyle Hamilton, obviously, who I mentioned at safety, who can play in the slot, move around the formation. But Marlon Humphrey, still a very good football player. Brandon Stevens has emerged for them as a good player as well, a former safety turned corner. Marcus Williams is still a good safety. You drop in Nate Wiggins, TJ Tampa, here for it with those draft picks. I think like Nate Wiggins probably could not have landed in a better place. I really believe that. They will get the most out of him, and he is an incredible talent when it comes to coverage. He needs to get stronger, more physical, but they're going to help him do that. Again, I just think that Zach Orr is just going to have to keep this thing on the rails just a little bit and let these playmakers and these leaders do the rest, and they're going to be able to handle their business. But again, the ultimate question is, can the Ravens win the AFC? Can they beat the Chiefs? Can they hold up front on that offensive line, both against blitzes and, springing Derrick Henry? If so, if they can do those two things, I do think they can beat the Chiefs. But those are big ifs. They really are. To me, they are my number 2 team in the NFL right now, behind the Kansas City Chiefs. Lamar Jackson is absolutely insane. The talent around him has certainly improved over the last couple years. Derrick Henry could really change things too. And obviously Todd Monken, year 2 in this system, it could help the entire offense, and especially Lamar Jackson being in year 2 of the same system, kind of developing on what they did last year. They have a lot better, more diverse passing game than they did prior to Todd Monken coming to Baltimore. So, I think that the addition of Derrick Henry is a big deal, even with like average run blocking, which is what he had in Tennessee, maybe putting it nicely. Even with average run blocking, he will make a difference. And the threat of Lamar Jackson running, the threat of Derrick Henry running, it is going to put so much stress on defenses. It's going to make a difference in the regular season and in the playoffs. The defense is still loaded with difference makers. But again, it all comes down to being able to beat Patrick Mahomes if they can get Derrick Henry rolling, if Lamar Jackson and this offense can figure out how to handle the blitzes better. This is a team that probably could beat the Chiefs. I really believe that. But right now, my number 2 team in the NFL. If you're a Ravens fan, drop your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Y'all have a good one.